Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you once trusted? Maybe they looked you in the eye, spoke with warmth and sincerity, and you believed them. You believed they were honest, that they meant what they said, but slowly, almost quietly, their actions began to tell a different story, and one day, it hits you, you didn't really know them at all. That kind of realization, it's sharp, it's personal, and yet, almost everyone has felt it at some point. We live in a time where image often replaces integrity, where social media filters more than just photos, it filters personality, where resumes are polished, smiles are rehearsed, and words, carefully crafted, but character, real character, doesn't live in the spotlight. It doesn't need an audience. It shows up in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when there's nothing to gain, no applause waiting on the other side. The Stoic philosophers, they understood this long before Instagram or job titles ever existed. To them, a person's true nature isn't measured by what they say, it's revealed by what they do, consistently, especially when it's hard or inconvenient. So how do we truly know who someone is? That's exactly what we're going to explore in this episode. Today, I'll share with you 9 clear, simple, but deeply revealing ways to recognize a person's true character. These aren't just personality tips or clever psychological hacks. They're timeless tools used by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus to see past the surface, and into the soul. But here's what makes this really powerful. These aren't just tools for understanding others. They're also mirrors for understanding yourself, because maybe you've been burned before, maybe you're learning to rebuild trust, or maybe you're just ready to become the kind of person you'd want to trust. Whatever brought you here, stay with me, and as we walk through these 9 reflections, I ask you to do just one thing. Don't just observe others, reflect inward too. Because in the end, character isn't built in big moments, it's shaped in small decisions, made in silence, and what you're about to hear might shift how you see others, but more importantly, it might just shift how you see yourself. Let's begin. If you truly want to see someone's real character, don't look at how they treat their boss, don't study how they speak to someone they admire, watch how they treat the person who holds no power, no influence, nothing to offer in return. A janitor, a server rushing through a busy shift, a delivery driver soaked in rain, or just a stranger asking for help. No spotlight, no applause, no benefit. Because here's a truth we often overlook: anyone can be kind when it's strategic, when it earns praise, builds reputation, opens doors. But the real test, who are you? That when there's nothing to gain. Let me give you a simple example. Picture a crowded restaurant, noise, tension, silverware clinking. A young waiter, clearly overwhelmed, moves from table to table, doing his best to hold it together. At one table, Alex makes eye contact, and says calmly, "Hey, take your time, I can see it's a tough night." The waiter smiles, breathes out, and nods with quiet gratitude. A few tables away, Jamie folds his arms, sighs loudly, and mutters, "Unbelievable, how hard is it to bring out the right order?" Now, neither of them knows anyone's watching, but in that moment, their true character is exposed, not by their Instagram bios, not by their polished words, but by how they respond when no one's filming, and there's nothing to gain. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you that defines you, it's how you respond." He believed that wealth, charm, and status are empty if a person lacks virtue, and Marcus Aurelius reminded us, what injures the hive, injures the bee. Meaning, we're all connected. When we act with cruelty or impatience, we don't just harm others, we corrode something inside ourselves. Modern psychology supports this. Studies show how someone treats service workers is often a mirror of their emotional health. those who belittle or demean may be compensating for insecurity, a need to feel superior, but those who show respect consistently tend to have inner confidence, empathy, stability. So, let me ask you, gently but directly, backhand index pointing right, how do you treat people when no one's watching? Backhand index pointing right, do you offer kindness only when it serves you? Backhand index pointing right, or is your decency rooted in something deeper? Because real character doesn't shout, it whispers, quietly, consistently, through small choices. And this is just the beginning. Let's keep going, because there's more to uncover. And some of it might just change the way you see yourself. Let's talk about promises, not the grand, sweeping declarations, but the small, quiet ones. I'll call you back. I'll be there by 6. Don't worry, I've got your back. These phrases come out so easily, but keeping them, that's where the real story begins, because a promise, especially a small one, kept when it's inconvenient, is one of the clearest mirrors of character. Anyone can make a promise, but doing what you said you would, even when you're tired, even when no one's watching, that's rare, that's integrity. Seneca put it this way: a promise is a debt unpaid. When you give your word, you're not just making a casual statement, you're making a silent contract, with others, and with yourself. Let's make it real. Picture this: you're moving into a new apartment, boxes everywhere, you're sweating, overwhelmed, your friend might promise to help, but on the morning of the move, you get a vague text: hey, something came up. Sorry. No real apology, no offer to reschedule. Now, there's Sarah. She shows up, not just on time, but with gloves, snacks, and moving straps. She lifts, she sweats, she jokes alongside you. She didn't come because it was fun, she came because she said she would. Now ask yourself, who do you trust? Who do you feel safe relying on next time? More importantly, who do you want to be? Because here's the truth most people miss: when someone breaks promises repeatedly, they're not just letting others down, they're letting themselves down. Psychologists call this self-betrayal. Each time you break a commitment, even a small one, you send yourself a quiet message: my word doesn't matter. I can't even count on myself. And over time, that message becomes your self-image, it becomes your voice. But here's the good news: you can reverse it. Every time you follow through, even when it's hard, you rebuild your inner foundation, you become someone dependable, you build self-respect, you prove to yourself, my word has weight. I show up. I follow through. Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So next time you're tempted to back out of something you promised, pause, not because someone's watching, but because you are. Your word is more than sound, it's a reflection, a test, a choice, and when you keep it, especially when it's inconvenient, you become stronger, steadier, more whole. Let's keep going, because the way we keep promises, that's just one layer of real character. If you really want to see someone's true nature, don't watch how they celebrate success, watch how they respond when life doesn't go their way. When they're criticized, when their ego takes a hit, when their plans fall apart unexpectedly, painfully, these moments aren't just tough. They're emotional X-rays. Some people explode, blame others, deflect, raise their voice to regain control. Others go silent, shut down, pretend it didn't happen. But there's another kind, the rare kind. They pause, breathe, listen. They don't always agree, but they stay present. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? Not because it's easy, but because they've chosen growth. Over pride, Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That truth still holds. Modern psychology agrees. Defensiveness, anger, denial, often signs of unresolved wounds. People who can't accept criticism often carry a fragile sense of self-worth. They protect their ego, like cracked glass, afraid it might shatter. But emotional maturity, it looks different. It leans in, it listens, it learns. Think about someone you admire, not for what they've achieved, but for how they carry themselves under pressure. Do they need to be right all the time, or do they welcome feedback with calm curiosity? Because real character isn't about perfection, it's about humility, the willingness to say, maybe I was wrong. The courage to change, even when no one's demanding it. And here's the twist: how you respond to failure doesn't just show the world who you are, it teaches you who you are. When you stay grounded in hard moments, you become someone you can trust, even when things fall apart. So let me ask you, when was the last time someone gave you tough feedback? Did you react, or did you reflect? Because your answer might say more about your strength than you think. Because it's easy to be kind to those we love. It's easy to show grace when there's no history. But how do you act when you've been burned? Do you hold on to the bitterness like armor, or do you let it go, not for them, but for your own peace? Let me ask you this: have you ever seen someone whose energy changes the moment an old enemy is mentioned? Their tone sharpens, their posture stiffens. They say they've moved on, but they're still fighting invisible battles. Now contrast that with someone who's been wronged, but doesn't carry it like a trophy. They don't seek revenge. They don't speak poorly behind closed doors. They don't dwell. They move forward, not because they forget, but because they've outgrown the need to stay stuck. That's not weakness, that's strength, power. Under control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." In other words, rise above it. Don't become the very thing that broke you, just to prove a point. Let your composure say what your words don't have to. Modern psychology backs this up. People who've made peace with their past often show emotional maturity. They've learned to separate what happened to them from who they are now. But those who carry grudges, they often carry unhealed wounds. They crave closure, but act in ways that keep the wound open. So here's the question we all have to ask: when you come face to face with someone who once made you suffer, how do you show up? With resentment in your eyes, or with dignity in your silence? Because how you treat those you no longer like says more about your growth than your words ever could. Remember this: your enemy isn't holding the remote to your emotions, you are. And the more peace you make with your past, the more power you'll feel in your present. Let's keep going. The next lesson might just shift how you view strength forever. You don't really know someone until they have power, not when they're struggling, not when they're the underdog, but when they're winning, when they're in control, when they don't have to be kind, but could be cruel, and no one would stop them. Because here's a truth that cuts deep: power doesn't change people, it reveals them. It exposes everything that was always there, quiet, hidden, waiting. Give someone a little authority, a title, a raise, a following. Watch what happens. Some people become more generous, others more manipulative. Some stay grounded, others grow arrogant. Some uplift, others dominate. And that difference, that's not status, that's not luck, that's character. Think of a boss who still listens, who gives their team credit, who makes space for voices smaller than theirs, even when they don't have to. That's not just leadership, that's restraint, that's integrity. Now picture the opposite: the person who talks down to others just because they can, who brags after every win, who interrupts, dismisses, mocks, because no one dares to challenge them. That's not confidence. That's insecurity, wearing the costume of strength. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once warned, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom doesn't just happen, neither does humility. or compassion, they're built, forged in silence, tested, when the door is open to take advantage and you choose not to. Let me ask you this, when was the last time you had the upper hand? Maybe you were right in an argument, maybe you had influence, wealth, authority. What did you do with it? Did you lift someone up, or did you remind them that you could have crushed them? Because that moment, that quiet choice, is the real test. Power, at its core, is neutral, it's a tool. It can heal, or it can hurt, and the way someone wields it tells you everything you need to know about who they are. Anyone can be humble when they're small, anyone can be kind when they have nothing to lose. But real character, it's revealed when there's no one left to impress. So if you really want to understand someone, give them power, step back, and just watch, because who they become in that moment, that's who they've been all along. Let's keep going. There's more to uncover, and more to reflect on, within ourselves, because power doesn't just test others, it tests us, and the greatest test is the one no one else sees. True power doesn't corrupt. It reveals, it doesn't turn you into someone else, it simply turns up the volume on who you've been all along. When someone gains power, success, or status, that's when their real character steps forward, not during failure, not in struggle, but in triumph. See, it's easy to appear grounded when life is humbling you, but when the spotlight finds you, when people start clapping and calling your name, what happens then? Do you stay anchored in who you are, or do you float away on your own ego? There's a powerful truth most people miss. Success is not a reward, it's a mirror. It reflects everything we hoped no one would ever see. When someone finally makes it, pay attention. Do they lift others with them, or do they pull the ladder up behind them? Do they speak with the same humility they had before the applause? Because real humility begins after achievement. Anyone can be modest when they have nothing to prove, but when the world gives you permission to brag, and you choose not to, that's discipline, that's character. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, philosopher, the most powerful man of his time, used to remind himself daily, "You are a soul carrying a corpse." Harsh? Yes, but grounding. It kept him from believing the illusion that status made him more than human. That's the essence of Stoicism. Power doesn't elevate your soul, it only tests it. Modern psychology agrees. Power doesn't change people, it just removes the fear of being judged, and in that space, the truth slips out. If someone becomes arrogant when they succeed, it's not because success poisoned them, it's because arrogance was already inside them, waiting for permission to speak. But when someone stays kind, steady, generous, even when they have nothing left to prove, that's when you found a rare human being. So ask yourself, what would you do with more power? Would you use it to shine brighter alone, or to light the path for others? Because power is not just a privilege, it's a responsibility, and every time life hands it to you, it's asking, now that you have more, will you become more, or will you become less? The spotlight doesn't build character, it exposes it. Let's move forward, because the next sign of true integrity might just be the one that hits closest to home. You don't truly know someone until they're forced to wait, not while they speak, not while they're trying to impress, but while they're stuck in a slow-moving line, waiting on a late Uber, or sitting on hold with customer service for the third time. Because in those quiet, restless moments, when control slips away, and the world refuses to move at their pace, that's when the mask falls, that's when the inner world becomes visible. Some people get agitated, they roll their eyes, they sigh, just loud enough for everyone to hear, they snap at the barista, curse the traffic, blame the system. Picture it, a man pacing at the airport gate, glaring at his phone, muttering under his breath, as if frustration will make the plane arrive faster. It's not the delay that reveals him, it's his reaction to it. But others, they exhale, they stay still, they wait. Not because they have no choice, but because they've trained their mind to stay still when life speeds up or slows down, and that difference, that's not just temperament, it's character, because impatience isn't just a personality quirk. It's often a quiet form of entitlement, a belief that says, my time is more important than yours. That the world should bend to me. Patience, on the other hand, it's not weakness, it's strength. Under control, it's emotional discipline in disguise. It's the ability to say, even if I can't control what's happening, I can control how I respond. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most frustration during waiting, it doesn't come from the delay itself, it comes from the story we tell ourselves. During the delay, this shouldn't be happening. This is wasting my time. This is someone else's fault. But what if we rewrote that story? What if, the next time you're stuck in traffic, or waiting for someone who's late, you simply asked yourself, what is this moment here to teach me? Because how someone handles waiting tells you everything you need to know about their emotional maturity. People with a strong inner world use stillness to reflect. People with a weak one, they use it to explode. So the next time you're with someone in a delayed situation, observe, do they remain composed? Do they stay kind, even when things don't go their way? Or do they unravel at the smallest inconvenience? And more importantly, the next time you are forced to wait, ask yourself, am I mastering this moment? Or is it mastering me? Because in the silence between moments, when nothing is moving, when no one is watching, your true self speaks the loudest, and in that silence, you meet who you really are. Let's keep going. There's more wisdom just around the corner. If you really want to understand someone's emotional depth, don't look at how they treat you when you're struggling. Look at how they respond when you're winning. Not everyone celebrates your victory. Sometimes, the silence after your success is louder than any cheer. Let's be honest. When a friend lands a promotion, when someone starts a business that takes off, or even when someone walks into a room with quiet confidence, and the room turns their way, how do others react? Do they light up with you, or do they look away? Change the subject, make a sarcastic joke, to take the edge off their envy. Here's the hard truth, envy isn't about what someone else has, it's about what we think we're missing. It's not about them, it's about us. And yet, envy is rarely admitted out loud. It shows up in micro-reactions, tone, tension, timing, a pause too long, a compliment too short, a subtle shift in energy that says, why not me? But what if we looked at envy differently, not as something shameful, but as something useful? Envy is a signal. It points to your values, your unspoken dreams, your buried ambition. It whispers, you wanted that too, but you didn't try, or you gave up, or you're afraid. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Don't compete, reflect. Don't resent someone else's success, let it reveal what matters most to you. Think about this, when someone close to you wins, is your first instinct to clap, or to compare, to celebrate, or to shrink? The difference lies not in your emotions, but in how you manage them. The emotionally mature don't pretend envy doesn't exist. They pause, they question it, they use it, they ask, what does their success stir in me? What can I learn here? Am I avoiding something in myself? Because someone else's success is not your failure, it's a mirror, and a map, a mirror of your mindset, and a map to your potential. So the next time envy knocks, don't slam the door, open it, welcome it, ask it what it came to teach you, and when others succeed, choose to rise too, because real confidence is quiet, it doesn't get threatened by someone else's light, it shines alongside it. Remember, success isn't a race, it's a reflection, and your reaction reveals your character. Let's continue. because what comes next may be the truest test of all. How you treat someone after they mess up says more about you than it does about them, not when they betray you, not when they act out of malice, but when they make a simple, human mistake, something unintentional, something awkward, something just wrong. That's a quiet test of character most people never talk about. Think about it. Do you shame them? Do you correct them publicly to teach a lesson? Do you turn their mistake into a story for later, just so you look wiser by comparison? Or do you pause, breathe, and respond with calm, compassion, maybe even a touch of grace? Because how we handle other people's flaws often mirrors how we handle our own. The person who mocks others for slipping up, chances are, they're terrified of messing up themselves. They attack in others what they can't yet accept in themselves. But the person who shows grace, who gently corrects or chooses silence over shame, that's someone who's wrestled with their own imperfections and made peace with them. Picture this: a manager sees an employee miss a small but important detail. They could correct them privately, help them grow, but instead, they call them out in front of the whole team, not to fix the problem, but to protect their ego. And that moment leaves a scar deeper than the mistake ever did. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself, what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" That quote has stopped me in my tracks more than once, because it reminds us no one is immune to error. Not you, not me, not the people we admire, and certainly not the ones we're so quick to judge. A mentor can lift you up or crush your confidence with the same correction. A parent can build resilience or breed shame, depending on their tone. A friend can be a mirror of compassion or a spotlight of judgment. So ask yourself, when someone forgets, slips up, gets it wrong, how do you respond? Do you become the teacher or the judge? Do you offer a hand or deliver a lecture? Because that moment, when someone else is vulnerable, that's when your integrity is revealed. And no, this isn't about pretending mistakes don't matter. Some errors carry consequences. Boundaries do matter, but Stoicism teaches us something crucial: how you enforce truth matters just as much as the truth itself. You can correct with cruelty or with calm. You can teach through shame or through understanding. The difference lies not in the rules, but in the heart. So the next time someone in your life gets it wrong, pause. Before the sarcasm, before the sigh, before the judgment, just pause. Remember, that moment is not just a test for them, it's a test for you. Because how you treat someone when they're at their lowest tells the world everything about who you are when no one's watching. And in that quiet reaction, the truth of your character speaks the loudest. Let's keep going. What comes next isn't about judging others, it's about finally turning the mirror toward ourselves. Now that we've walked through these 9 quiet but powerful tests of character, let's step back and turn the mirror on ourselves. Because yes, it's revealing to observe how others treat people who can't benefit them, keep their promises, handle failure, success, envy, or even the long wait in a line. But here's the real question, the one that hits a little deeper: how do you show up when no one's watching? We're often quick to judge others, but the true test of wisdom, of growth, of strength, is to ask, do I show respect when there's nothing in it for me? Do I keep my promises, even when it's inconvenient or unnoticed? How do I treat someone I once disliked? When they re-enter my life, am I humble in success? Grounded in failure, do I celebrate others sincerely, or compare? In silence, these are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones, because real character isn't built in public, it's formed in quiet, private decisions. It's revealed not through what we post, but in how we act, especially when it's hard, inconvenient, or unseen. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the most powerful empire of his time, said it best, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength, it's not in your title, it's not in your resume, it's in the pause before you react, it's in the choice to be kind when it's easier to be indifferent, it's in the decision to walk with integrity even when no one would fault you for doing otherwise. And that's what Stoicism offers us, not perfection, not pride, but a daily invitation to live better, think clearer, lead ourselves before we try to lead anyone else. So if any part of this message spoke to you, if it challenged you, encouraged you, or simply reminded you of who you want to become, backhand index pointing right, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel, Mindful Stoic Way. Here, we explore timeless Stoic wisdom in a modern voice. Not as cold theory, but as practical strength for real life, to help you live with clarity, resilience, and quiet purpose. And if you're already walking this path, you don't have to walk it alone. This is a space for reflection, growth, and real connection. So hit subscribe, and let's keep becoming who we were meant to be, one small choice at a time. I'll see you in the next episode.